Hey guys, it's Dawn and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, I am an aspiring author of adult fantasy hoping to be traditionally published in the next few years. Today I want to give you guys an almost midpoint update of Camp NaNoWriMo, talk about how it's going, my thoughts, all that kind of stuff. Also at the end of the video I will briefly mention what I'm reading currently if that interests you, so check the timestamps below if you want to jump around. So from my previous video about Camp NaNoWriMo, you guys know that I am handwriting my draft currently just to take a break from my computer. So as of right now, I am on page 55. Just started page 55. It's kind of a fun point in the novel because it's actually where my starting point was in the novella. So when I went through the novella and kind of read through and figured out how to expand it into a full novel, I decided that I needed some more intro chapters before the starting point I had back then. So I'm done writing those intro chapters for now, and I'm actually back at my original starting point. I am rewriting some things and adding some elements here and there, but the general gist of the scene is the same, where we're opening up at a ball held at our main character's father's estate. Our main character's name is Ildrana. She is a high elf, so in this world, in this society, high elves are the most privileged class of people in the Empire, and then below them are low elves and goblins. The events of this story are happening about 5 years after a revolution. So the eastern part of the Empire, which had been traditionally goblin lands that were taken over by the Empire centuries ago, revolted and was actually able to wrestle independence away from the Empire. So it's now its own country that is a majority goblin country, and the Empire is weakened and a little bit humiliated at this point. So the reason this is so important to the background of the story is that Ildrana's father, Colonel Natsumaro, was actually one of the High Elvish officers that had been fighting for the Empire during this revolution, and because the Empire lost, he was disgraced at the end of the war. So for the 5 years since the war's end, he and some other officers he's associated with have been trying to fix their reputations, repair their reputations in the Emperor's eye and in the rest of the High Elvish court's eyes. So the scheme is a little convoluted to explain on video, and I don't want to give a lot away, but basically Ildrana's father and those other officers have decided that they're going to arrange a political marriage between Ildrana and a politician in this new republic to try to gain some intel and sway the republic to the Empire side on a new conflict emerging in the southern part of the Empire. So the ballroom scene is actually where Ildrana meets her potential future husband for the first time. She's very nervous because even though she has had some interaction with goblins in her life, most of them have been quote-unquote imperial goblins, so goblins that grew up in traditional imperial lands rather than the traditional goblin homelands. So they don't even speak goblin tongue, they're very culturally elvish. So she doesn't really know what to expect from a goblin who is from this new republic. Plus, as you can imagine, she's a little nervous to meet a stranger that she might be forced to marry. So the scene is meant to build a lot of anticipation and anxiety because Ildrana sees the group of goblins from across the room, so she knows her future husband is in the group, but she doesn't know who it is, and she's just sort of biding her time until her father decides to introduce her. Since that was the original starting point of the novella, I feel like it's giving me a lot of excitement as a writer because it's a definite sign of progress. I have finished this iteration of those new introductory chapters, so being at this point makes me feel like I'm not floundering, if that makes sense. And it is fun to kind of add the different elements that were missing in the novella. So I'm having a lot of fun writing this scene. I should finish it in the next couple days or so and then move on to Ildrana actually traveling to this republic to see her new home. So that will be really fun. I've kind of glanced over my outline, and I think if I continue to make good progress on these scenes, I might be able to finish the first act by the end of the month. I'll probably be pushing it if I do manage to make it there, but I think it would be nice to hit that point and feel like I've made some significant progress on this draft. I also started typing up what I've handwritten just because I was in the mood to work on the story yesterday during the day, but didn't quite have the headspace to actually write. So I decided to start typing it up. And based on the averages that I've gotten so far on the word counts on the computer, I am hitting at least 250 words on these fully filled pages. So my word count estimate for this notebook is still approximately 40,000 words when it's completely filled, which would be a really decent chunk of the book. I feel good about the project so far, and I'm really grateful that I've finally reached a place as a writer where I know to just keep going and just keep working rather than fussing about making things perfect like I used to do in the past, because that definitely led to no finished drafts previously. So I know I'm just in the long game right now. I just have to keep working every single day and doing a little bit more and getting closer to the end of the draft. So that's where we're at right now with The Elf and the Goblin. I do plan on doing a behind the book video soon, talking more in depth about the story if you guys are interested. So maybe in the next couple weeks or so I will put that out. So if you're interested, keep your eye out for that. And if you're not subscribed, you should subscribe so you know when it comes out. Haha. Okay, last but not least for this video, I want to very, very briefly talk about what I'm reading currently, because I think that is fun so you guys know kind of what I'm trying to expose myself to as a reader to expand my skills as a writer. So right now I am rereading The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter in preparation for reading the sequel, The Fires of Vengeance. I'm only about 50 pages in right now because I haven't had a ton of time to sit down and read the past few days, but I am enjoying it. I love his style. I loved reading this book last year, so I fully expect to enjoy this reread. Also, currently I am listening to The Fellowship of the Ring. It's an interesting experience so far. I attempted to read The Fellowship of the Ring years and years ago when I was a little girl because my older sister was really into it and I was at that stage where, you know, you copy your siblings. So I attempted to read it and I got about halfway through. So I think I got to the point where Frodo wakes up in Rivendell, basically. And I just couldn't go any further. It was very hard to read. And then about a year or so ago, I attempted again and was enjoying it, but set it down and just had one of those sort of reader instances where, you know, you think you're enjoying a book and then you put it down and you never get the motivation to pick it up again. And I didn't get very far into it that time. I think I had just gotten to the point where they were starting their journey. So Frodo, Sam, and I can't remember if it's Merry or Pippin at that beginning point. But they had just started the journey, so they were still in the Shire. I think Tolkien is just one of those writers that I need an audiobook to get me through those really dense sections of description and background information, and also all the freaking songs. Holy crap, I really feel for the narrator of this audiobook because I don't know if he had to like figure it out on his own as far as like tunes and stuff, but he sings all of the songs, all of them. And it's kind of weird, but I'm like, okay, good on you, man. But Lord of the Rings, it's one of those things that like I recognize how important it is. And I love, love, love the Peter Jackson movies. I have the extended editions. I rewatch them at least a couple times a year. I love the story of the Lord of the Rings. I just have a really hard time with Tolkien's style. It is quite aged now and he does ramble a bit. He doesn't self-edit very much. So it's just very dense and hard to get through in my opinion. I think it's valuable to read from the perspective of a fantasy writer, but as far as just raw enjoyment, yeah, I mean, it's not riveting. But yeah, I'm still enjoying it. It's a fun thing to just switch on when I'm going for a drive, running an errand or something, but it's definitely not one that I feel that I'm going to ever reread in the future. It's one that I more feel I need to read once because I want to better understand the history of my genre. But yeah, I'm reading The Fellowship of the Ring and you know, we'll eventually move on to the Two Towers and then the Return of the King. Okay, those are all my updates for this video. Let me know down below in the comments how your Camp NaNoWriMo is going. I hope you're hitting all your goals, or at least you're making some progress and feeling like you're getting a lot of good stuff done this month. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. And as always, happy writing. Bye.